5 groups, 1 throne, and a global audience that doesn't just listen to K-pop, it lives inside it. Today we're counting down the top 5 hottest Korean groups right now, and yes, the list includes Blackpink, BTS, Cordis, EXO, and Twice. But here's the twist. This isn't just about who's famous. It's about why they're famous in a way that feels almost unstoppable. Because hot in K-pop isn't a single thing. Sometimes it's a comeback that turns the internet into a countdown clock. Sometimes it's a name that can go quiet for a while and still trend like they never left. Sometimes it's legacy, songs that refuse to die, performances people replay like rituals. And sometimes it's a newer wave that's climbing so fast it makes everyone argue. Are we watching the next era being born? So here's my promise. By the time we hit number 1, you'll understand the real formula behind K-pop dominance, how fandom power, branding, performance culture, and pure story momentum combine into something bigger than music. And I'll warn you now, one ranking in this countdown is going to spark a debate. Ready? Lock in your prediction. Who do you think is number 1, Blackpink or BTS?
All right, before we start the countdown, we need one thing clear. This list isn't just my favorites. It's built around what makes a group feel hot right now in the real world, the kind of heat that shows up in conversations, headlines, timelines, and crowd reactions. So here are the 5 signals I'm using to rank these groups. Think of them like the celebrity curiosity checklist for K-pop dominance. First, buzz in the moment. Are people actively talking about them today? Comebacks, appearances, rumors, milestones, anything that keeps their name circulating even when they're not promoting? Second, global fandom power. Not just they have fans, but fans who move like a force, streaming, voting, selling out venues, dominating comment sections, turning every post into a battlefield of love and loyalty. Third, performance gravity, tour impact, live stages, iconic choreography, vocals, stage presence, because in K-pop, the performance isn't extra, it's the product. Fourth, social media takeover. The clips that explode, the edits that spread, the fashion moments, the memes, the ability to own the algorithm without begging for it. And fifth, legacy plus staying power. The groups who can disappear for a while and still feel relevant the second their name drops. That's rare, and that's real power. One more thing. This is a countdown, which means the order matters. So I want you to do this right now. Pause for 1 second and comment your prediction. Who do you think takes number 1, and which group do you think people are underestimating the most? Because trust me, the reason one of these groups is ranked where they are might not be the reason you expect. At number 5, we have a group people have tried to count out more than once, usually with the same lazy line. They peaked already, and yet, somehow, Twice keeps proving that in K-pop, the loudest hype isn't always the strongest force. Sometimes the strongest force is something quieter and more dangerous: longevity. Twice is hot right now in a very specific way. Not like a wildfire that burns bright and disappears, more like a city that never stops glowing. And the reason that matters is because the K-pop world is built on cycles, new debuts, new concepts, new next big things. In that kind of environment, the groups that survive aren't just talented, they're trusted. Here's the first reason Twice stays in the conversation. Their identity is instantly recognizable. You can play a few seconds of a Twice-era sound, bright, catchy, emotionally clean, and most listeners know what universe they're in. That signature becomes a brand. And brands don't need to shout every day to be remembered. Second, Twice has a rare kind of audience relationship. They're not only followed for shock moments, they're followed for comfort. That might sound small, but it's not. Comfort is repeatable. Comfort is rewatchable. Comfort builds habits. And habits are what keep people coming back when the algorithm tries to distract them. Third, their performance consistency is underrated. Twice is the type of group that makes complicated choreography look like something you could almost do. Almost. That balance is key. Their stages are polished, their vibe is contagious, and their music is built to stick in your brain on the first listen. Even if you don't stan them, you can't pretend they're not engineered to stay in your head. But here's the part people miss: the secret sauce. Twice isn't just a group you listen to. Twice is a mood product. They represent a feeling fans can access again and again, a clean burst of energy, nostalgia, sweetness, and confidence. In a world where celebrity content is often messy and exhausting, Twice offers something rare, a consistent emotional place to land. And now the but moment, because every entry in this list needs one. Twice is ranked number 5, not because they're weak, but because the groups above them carry something heavier than comfort: myth, legacy, and global takeover power, the kind that can shake culture outside of music. And speaking of myth, the next group is the definition of legend energy. The name alone changes the temperature in the room.
At number 4, we're stepping into a different kind of heat, the kind that doesn't need constant updates to stay alive. Because EXO isn't just a group people listen to. EXO is a reference point. In K-pop, that's power. Here's the first reason EXO remains hot right now. Their legacy isn't frozen in the past, it's active. You know how some artists fade the moment their peak era ends? EXO didn't fade. Their catalog turned into a backbone. Their songs get revisited, sampled in playlists, used as proof in debates about vocals, stage presence, and what a true K-pop era looked like. That's the difference between a trend and a legacy. Trends disappear, but legacy becomes the standard everyone compares to. Second, EXO has something many groups chase for years and never fully earn: a mythic aura. When people say EXO, it triggers a memory of precision: the vocal blend, the choreography sharpness, the concept cohesion. Even casual fans know the name carries weight. And in internet culture, weight equals conversation. Conversation equals relevance. Third, EXO benefits from a unique modern advantage: individual star power, feeding the group brand. This is a huge reason they stay hot even when the group isn't constantly front and center. When members shine in solo music, acting, fashion, or public appearances, it keeps the EXO identity circulating. It's like multiple spotlights aiming back at the same logo. So even if the group as a unit isn't dropping something every week, the world still keeps seeing them. Now here's the secret sauce that makes EXO's heat different from Twice's. EXO's popularity is built on respect, not only excitement. And respect doesn't evaporate. Respect grows. It accumulates. It turns into a kind of cultural currency, especially in fandom spaces where people treat talent like evidence in court. When you watch EXO performances, it often feels less like fun content and more like a masterclass. That's why their name is constantly brought up when the conversation turns serious: vocals, technique, stage discipline, artistry. But here comes the twist that explains why EXO is number 4 and not higher today. EXO's heat is powerful, but it's different from the global shockwave of the top 3. The groups above them don't just have legacy or talent. They have the ability to dominate the algorithm in the present tense, to become a headline even without trying, and to expand beyond music into full cultural occupation. And that takes us to number 3, the entry that's going to make some people lean closer to the screen. Because number 3 isn't just a legacy act or a comfort icon. Number 3 is a new wave argument, the kind of name that sparks comments like, "Wait, are they really that big already?"
At number 3, we've got the name that instantly changes the energy in the comments, because for a lot of viewers, Cortis is not just a group, it's a question. Are we watching the next era of K-pop being engineered in real time? Cortis is hot right now because they're built for the modern attention economy. Not in a fake way, more in a they understand the game way. They debuted recently under big hit music, and that alone creates a powerful gravitational pull. When a label with global reach introduces a new team, the industry doesn't just watch, it projects. Fans start imagining the future before the future even arrives. The first reason Cortis is trending in the hot conversation is timing. K-pop is entering a phase where older generations remain legendary, but audiences are hungry for a new storyline. New faces, new dynamics, new rivalries, new obsessions. Cortis stepped into that gap at exactly the right moment, and the internet does what it always does. It starts building a mythology faster than the group can even breathe. Second, their branding is algorithm-friendly. Their name literally points to a concept of doing things differently, color outside the lines, which is basically a mission statement you can turn into edits, captions, fan theories, and identity slogans. That matters. Because in 2026, a group isn't only hot because of songs. They're hot because fans can turn them into a personality type. Third, Cordis benefits from the modern international pipeline. They're connected to global distribution representation that helps them appear everywhere at once, social platforms, press, fandom hubs, so the awareness curve rises quickly. And once a group becomes a topic people argue about, the heat multiplies. Now here's the secret sauce, the thing that pushes Cordis past rookie hype into real contender territory: momentum plus infrastructure. A lot of new groups go viral once. Cordis is positioned to keep the momentum rolling because the system around them is built to feed the machine: content drops, fan engagement pathways, and a storyline that can scale internationally. But here's the reason they're number 3 and not higher yet. The top 2 aren't just hot. They are global cultural fixtures. They can disappear and still dominate. They can breathe and cause headlines. And when they return, it doesn't feel like a release. It feels like an event. Which brings us to number 2, the name that can spark worldwide emotion with a single announcement. At number 2, we're talking about a group that proves something most celebrities never understand. You don't stay hot by being everywhere. Sometimes you stay hot by becoming inevitable, and that's exactly what BTS is. Inevitable. BTS isn't just a name in K-pop. BTS is a global symbol that sits in a weird space between music, identity, and modern internet culture. Even people who don't actively follow K-pop still recognize the idea of BTS, the breakthrough, the international takeover, the fan base that feels like an organized force of nature. And that matters, because once a group becomes a symbol, they stop being measured like normal artists. They start being measured like a cultural event. Here's the first reason BTS remains one of the hottest groups right now. Their fandom doesn't watch, it mobilizes. The BTS audience isn't passive. It's an ecosystem that turns releases into movements, moments into headlines, and milestones into proof. Every time BTS is mentioned, whether it's a small update, an old clip resurfacing, or the faint possibility of future group activity, it triggers a reaction chain online. The machine wakes up instantly. Second, BTS mastered something that keeps viewers hooked in the same way a great Netflix series does: story. Their rise wasn't just, we got popular. It was struggle, growth, pressure, and emotional connection. Fans didn't only stream songs, they watched a narrative unfold and felt like they were inside it. That's why BTS doesn't fade during quieter periods. Their story has chapters. When a chapter pauses, people don't leave. They wait for the next page. Third, global reach. BTS didn't just expand K-pop's audience. They helped reshape what global pop even looks like. Their influence stretches into fashion, interviews, award stages, charity conversations, and cross-cultural moments. It's not one market. It's many markets at once. So the heat doesn't depend on a single trend. It's spread across continents, platforms, and communities. Now let's talk secret sauce, because this is where BTS becomes almost unfair. BTS has a rare talent for making fame feel personal. They built a brand that says, "We see you." That feeling, belonging, being understood, being part of something bigger, creates loyalty that survives algorithms. It survives new debuts. It survives time. And when a fandom believes it's part of the story, it will keep the story alive even when the artists aren't actively pushing it. So why are they number 2 and not number 1? Because number 1 has a different kind of domination, the kind that merges music with fashion, luxury branding, viral visuals, and event-level comebacks. BTS is a cultural empire. But number 1 is the group that can flip the entire internet's aesthetic with one teaser. And that brings us to the final entry, the name that turns anticipation into a worldwide countdown. At number 1, we're talking about the group that doesn't just release music, they trigger a cultural weather change. Blackpink isn't hot in the normal way. Blackpink is hot in the way global icons are hot. Even when they're quiet, their name still feels loud. Here's the first reason Blackpink sits at the top of this list right now: event-level attention. With Blackpink, Everything becomes an occasion. A teaser isn't just a teaser, it's a countdown. An appearance isn't just an appearance, it's a headline. Even a rumor can turn into a week of debate. That's a rare kind of power, because it means Blackpink doesn't depend on constant output. They depend on something stronger: anticipation. Second, Blackpink has mastered the modern formula of fame: music, plus image, plus brand dominance, all fused together. In today's internet culture, being hot isn't only about streams. It's about how often your face, your look, your style, and your moment gets reposted, edited, stitched, memed, and referenced. Blackpink is built for that ecosystem. Their visuals are instantly recognizable. Their concepts are clean and high impact. Their performances are designed to create clip moments that travel far beyond the fandom. Third, Blackpink is one of the few K-pop groups where each member carries independent superstar gravity, and that matters more than most people realize. When individual members become powerful brands on their own, the group turns into a four-engine machine. Even when one engine is dominating headlines, the other engines are still running: fashion, endorsements, viral trends, solo projects, global appearances. The result is constant presence, even without constant group activity. So when the group does come together, the hype doesn't start at zero. It starts already blazing. Now the secret sauce, the part that explains why Blackpink feels like a phenomenon rather than a group. Blackpink sells a fantasy that audiences across the world instantly understand: high confidence, high style, high status. They're not only performers, they're a global mood board. And because of that, they pull in viewers who don't normally follow K-pop. People who might not know every B-side still know the name. They recognize the vibe. They recognize the cultural footprint. That's what pushes Blackpink from popular into dominant. But here's the twist, because every number one needs one. Blackpink's biggest strength can also become their biggest tension: the hunger for more. When a group becomes an event, the audience's expectations grow. Every comeback has to feel bigger. Every era has to look iconic. Every return has to justify the wait. And that pressure creates a cycle that keeps Blackpink permanently in the spotlight, because the world isn't only consuming the music. The world is consuming the question: what will they do next? And that's why Blackpink takes number one today. Not because they're the only group with global influence, but because their influence is built to dominate multiple arenas at the same time: music, fashion, visuals, culture, and internet conversation. Now we've reached the top, but the real question is, did your prediction match this list? And if not, what would you change, and why?
So here's the truth behind this countdown. In K-pop, hot is never just about talent. Talent is the entry ticket. What makes a group stay hot, or become inescapable, is the full engine behind them. Story, identity, performance power, fandom culture, and the ability to create moments that feel bigger than a song. Twice proves that consistency becomes comfort, and comfort becomes loyalty. EXO proves that legacy becomes a standard, and a standard keeps winning arguments long after an era ends. Cordis represents the new wave, where being hot also means being built for the algorithm, designed to spread through clips, edits, and identity-driven fandom. BTS shows what happens when a group becomes a global narrative, not just a discography. People don't follow releases, they follow chapters. And Blackpink demonstrates the rarest kind of modern dominance: the ability to make everything feel like an event, where anticipation itself becomes content. Now here's the debate trigger, because I want the comments to turn into a real conversation. If hot means right now, some people will argue Cordis should be even higher. If hot means overall global impact, some will argue BTS deserves the throne. And if hot means pure cultural presence across music and lifestyle, Blackpink's number one makes perfect sense. So tell me this: what does hot mean to you? And if you had to change one ranking, which one, and what's your reason? If you want more lists like this, top comebacks, top disbandments, top scandals, top forgotten legends, subscribe to Celebrity Curiosity, because the spotlight always hides something, and we're here to find it.